Rightly, Delhi has emerged one of the most aggressive state when it comes to clean mobility or electric vehicle. That's the center technology that we are talking about when it comes to clean mobility. We have here with us none other than Delhi's Transport Minister, Mr. Kailash Gahlot, who is giving us the guest of honor, speech at this hour today. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for taking out time and joining ETAuto EV Conclave. The audience is eager to hear out your plans and how other states can learn from Delhi, which is targeting to be the capital of electric vehicles in the country as well.
A very good afternoon to all of you. And at the outset, let me first thank ET for giving me this opportunity to be part of this conclave and listen to you and share my experience and share all the interesting and challenging moments I have had and the Delhi government has had while implementing this electric vehicle policy and ensuring that more and more electric vehicles we see on Delhi roads. And I can still recall, almost 2 years back when we started um, thinking about this idea of introducing electric vehicles and um, coming up with a policy which does not remain only on the paper, but also it is implemented with the same vigor and with the same spirit on the ground also. And I think I must thank Honorable CM Arvind Kejriwal ji for guiding us and for giving the critical inputs where this policy, I think, although just since August, and we are in March right now, and I think it's already being talked about as one of the most ambitious, the most practical, and one of the most aggressive electric vehicle policy, not only in India but I think in the entire world. In August 2020, the electric vehicle policy was implemented, notified by Delhi government, and I think I'm fortunate as a minister, as a transport minister, that I have been involved with this policy from day one, and we've had many interesting and challenging moments. And I'm equally happy to share that since August, we have already uh, almost 7,000 electric vehicles have almost on Delhi roads since August. And when we talk about the subsidy part, two-wheelers can avail a subsidy of 30,000 rupees. And when you talk about four-wheelers, they can claim a subsidy of almost 1.5 lakh rupees on every electric vehicle they purchase. Again, to create that interest and the initial push, we have also ensured that there is no road tax and there is no registration fee also on the electric vehicles. The entire road tax and the registration fee has been waived off. The policy, more often than not, we have seen that beautiful policies, very nice policies, they have not been able to take off because of the nitty-gritties involved, the small but important issues which come while implementing it. To ensure that such problems do not happen and the policy is not affected or the pace is not slowed down, we have ensured a dedicated electric vehicle cell in the transport department. And I'm very happy to share that the entire EV cell is fully functional. It is monitoring the day-to-day progress. We have also ensured state EV fund so that there's no shortage of funds, because as I just mentioned that almost more than 17 crores of subsidy has already been disbursed into the accounts of the purchasers. One more thing which I would really like to highlight here, and maybe if other states want to follow, we have seen quite often that although subsidy is announced by the government, by the state, but while taking the subsidy, the purchaser or the customer has to run from pillar to post. Now, this was one of the most important thing which we wanted to ensure, that no customer or purchaser should ever visit our transport department or any of the offices to claim the subsidy. And I think I must thank Honorable CM again for showing us the right path. It was his direction that uh, one, the subsidy must be released within maybe, let's say, 4 to 5 working days. And second, it should be absolutely faceless and paperless. And that is what exactly we did. The entire channel of claiming the subsidy is absolutely online. There is a clear mandate to all the officers involved that the subsidy has to be released at the most within 4 to 5 working days. And I am very happy to share that the within a span of 4 to 5 months, we have released more than 17 crores of subsidies directly into the account of the purchaser who have purchased electric vehicles, and none of the purchaser has ever visited any of our office. It's absolutely online, without intervention of any intermediary or any other person except the dealer from where the electric vehicle is being purchased. The next important, I think, the one of the most important thing which is very critical is the infrastructure we create for the charging stations, because there is anxiety in the minds of the purchaser, that, and I think it has been phrased as charging anxiety, that where I we can find the nearest charging station. And we as Delhi government, as transport department, we intend to give one charging station, one facility of such kind within a radius of 3 kilometers, so that the electric vehicle owner need not worry or need not panic where the next charging station is. Almost 72 charging stations are already functional in Delhi. And next, we have already floated tenders for setting up 100 charging stations. So in these 100 charging stations, we will have almost 500 charging points. And I think in next 6 to 7 months, we will have these charging stations on the ground running. The other important aspect which we have kept in mind is that whenever there is a new technology or a new policy is rolled out, I think without educating people, without educating public, telling the public what are the benefits of electric vehicle, I think no policy has really taken off. And keeping that in mind, that it's very important to educate people. We have created a full 8 week campaign, a 360-degree campaign, whether it's the electronic media, whether newspaper or digital media, social media. So in this 8 week, we have named it as Switch Delhi. That by Switch Delhi, we mean uh, please switch from your normal vehicle to electric vehicle, and that is why we have named it Switch Delhi. It's a full-fledged 8 week campaign where in these 8 weeks we have focused on different segments. Started with two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, different RWAs, different market associations, and I think we have another 3 weeks to go in this Switch Delhi campaign. Another important, I think, a very bold and dynamic step which has been taken again under the leadership of Honorable CM Arvind Kejriwal, that we have issued orders to all the departments that all the more than 2,000 government vehicles, to start with the leased vehicles, the rented vehicles, they have to switch to electric vehicles in next 6 months. And the nodal department for ensuring this switchover is transport department. As transport minister, I'll be monitoring this personally and ensure that these 2,000 electric vehicles will be running on Delhi roads. So these are the few important things I have shared my experience with you, and I once again thank the ET for giving me this opportunity to be part of this interesting conclave. And I wish all the very best to ET and the other participants who will be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Certainly, that's an overwhelmingly positive plan that you have. Probably, Delhi is certainly going to lead the way when it comes to electrification of the, fleet. You talked about the subsidy that you are going to give over and above FAME to scheme already been availed. You are talking about reasonable 500 charging stations to be ready. That's a kind of dream plan that anybody will envisage for a city like Delhi. Delhi, of course, is a city which has extreme cold, extreme, weather conditions like summer. So my question comes, the electric consumption also fluctuate from about 4,000 kilowatt to a 7,400, kilowatt of consumption. How are you going to manage the support in terms of electric consumption that is set to rise with electrification coming into force?
No, we have already had detailed meetings with the different discoms and also with the Honorable Power Minister Delhi, and I don't see any problem as such. In last 5 years, we have really strengthened our grids. We have introduced the latest technology, and even otherwise in Delhi, I think we see a peak mostly in summers. And last 5 years, we have had no problem as such. And one more thing which I would want to tell you is that usually most of the electric vehicles, I think, will end up being charged overnight. Apart from the fast charging, where you go to charging stations and go for a quick charge, a very swift charge. In Delhi at night, the electricity is otherwise surplus.
Okay, so that's the plan. Let's move towards another policy element that you have. You talked about scrappage policy also. You will give some kind of incentive for scrapping the vehicle. Is it going to be something beyond the center's announcement, or is it in alignment with the center's announcement that is there?
I think let me clarify this very clearly. Whatever incentives or subsidy we're talking about is over and above whatever is being offered in FAME 2 or by the central government. The scrapping incentive, if I recall correctly, I think it's around 7,000 rupees, the scrapping incentive, or whatever is being offered by the manufacturer, or equal to that, I think, with a capping of 7,000 rupees.
How do you look at the scrappage policy when the central government that has proposed it talks about 20 years of life cycle for diesel and petrol vehicle? Looking at the pollution condition in NCR, we have adopted odd and even also, and we see in some months the pollution going very high. PM2 is especially a concern that comes from the diesel vehicle and the other sources also. So just want to understand, are you contented with the timeline of the life cycle of the vehicle that has been laid out in the center? Because 20-year, do you think people will be encouraged to scrap, and that too it's not a mandatory one but a voluntary one? What's your thought on this?
See, it's in a very nascent and initial stage. In Delhi, we can't set up any scrapping units because of the existing laws. So I think most of the scrapping units, which will cater to NCT of Delhi, will be on the periphery or maybe adjoining the bordering states. So I think few units have come up, if I'm not wrong, in Haryana, and I think few units have come up towards Noida. I think it's too early to say, but I would genuinely appeal to all the owners of old vehicles, because older the vehicle, the pollution is more. So I would appeal to all the vehicle owners, and why just the old vehicle owners? I would appeal to every vehicle owner that you must switch to electric vehicle and be a part of this movement, be a part of this Switch Delhi, where also, because the entire issue of electric vehicle is connected with reducing the pollution in Delhi. So every one electric vehicle which is being added on Delhi roads it means you are actually creating no pollution. So I would appeal to all vehicle owners, to all the Delhiites especially, who intend to buy a new vehicle, that they should buy a new electric vehicle. Uh, all the vehicle owners who intend to purchase another one or replace it with electric vehicle.
I will come back to my question once again, sir. Just want to understand because center says 20 year. NCR, if you look at the NGT ruling, it was 10-year for diesel, 15-year for gasoline. So just want to understand after this central scrappage policy, how will things play out for the Delhi NCR vehicle owners?
The life of a vehicle is different at different places. In Delhi, we have, as you rightly said, 10 years for a diesel vehicle and 15 years for a petrol vehicle. And we are also on this issue, we have had multiple orders of National Green Tribunal and also of Honorable Supreme Court. In other states, or maybe down south, I get to hear that people are driving vehicles without any problem for, let's say, 20 years or so. Vis-a-vis Delhi, I am not very sure whether we will be able to overcome the timelines which have been set by NGT and Supreme Court. Um, so there is a lot of confusion, and I think, in fact, today also somebody, the session is going on, assembly session. Somebody was inquiring whether the laws have changed. I said in Delhi at the moment it is 10 and 15 only. So beyond that, you may have a vehicle, but it is actually you're not supposed to drive it on the roads. And if you're caught, then I think the vehicle is liable to be impounded.
You talked about 17 crore of subsidy being availed by the end user. Are they the user in terms of those who bought public transport like electric buses or
No,
those who have bought the cars and two-wheelers only?
no. 117 is purely the private people who have bought electric vehicles. Maybe it is a four-wheeler, two-wheeler, or a three-wheeler.
So do you have any idea on electrifying your public transportation? Because that's the first stage. You have already announced, I heard that you have an aggressive plan. Going forward, how do you see how many of diesel buses are not there already? So how many of CNG and how many of electric vehicle? How are you going to see?
Delhi is the only state where the entire public transport is already on CNG. So we have no diesel
Ah,
buses. Second, we have already made an announcement that henceforth all the buses which will be bought will be electric buses.
hmm.
Thirdly, we have already at advanced stages of procurement of almost 1000 plus 300, 1300 electric buses, 12-meter low floor, and these will be state of the art buses. 300 buses in DTC, we have already finalized the vendors. Only a formality of placing it before the cabinet is pending, and I think it should be done in another week. In the cluster model, we have already floated tenders for another 575 electric buses. So I think towards the year end, we are looking at almost maybe 900 to 1000 electric buses on Delhi roads.
900 to 1000 electric buses. Let's change a bit the discussion. We are talking about green mobility. So why are we choosing only electric vehicle when we know that 70% of electricity is produced through fossil fuel? Delhi also, you know that you had to, stop one of the stations in Delhi, NCR, right, Faridabad area, and that's how harmful it is. So why are we just focusing on electric vehicle? Why not CNG as well? Because CNG was already there. So is there any other technology that you would be adopting? Maybe hydrogen fueled vehicles, or is there a policy around that will be coming?
No, see, CNG is already there.
Hmm.
The next clean fuel technology, which is there um, in the market, if I can use that word, is electric vehicle. Because see, Delhi Delhi has its own peculiar problems, maybe because of its geographic location. In winters, we have we what we talk about the parali and the smoke because of the burning of crop residue from the adjoining state of Haryana and Punjab. So it is very, and 18 to 20% of the pollution is contributed by the vehicles. So any step which can be taken to reduce that pollution, I think it will go a long way. And so that is where the entire electric vehicle policy was also thought about, and so much of push is being given. Second, we have also we are experimenting with the central government Indian Oil, and we have spent around 25 to 30 crores for setting up one of its kind of H-CNG, where hydrogen CNG plant, first of its kind in India, has been set up in one of our DTC depot at very near to ITO's the secretariat. And so we are waiting for the results, the final results of that study also. Different claims are being made, so I think another maybe few months. Now the other technology which you're talking about, whether it is hydrogen fuel technology or maybe other technology, I think as soon as we feel that that technology has matured enough that can be used in the public transport, because when you are using that kind of technology for a public transport, you have to be not 100% but 200% sure that it is safe for the public also.
How are you trying to attract the people investing in electric vehicle? How is your model for battery swapping and charging station? Is it going to be PPP or completely government owned?
No, the charging station or the swapping of batteries and all, I think it has to be in the private domain. However, since land is a big problem and is, I think, one of the most difficult part of the entire charging infrastructure, we have identified different land parcels, almost, I think, more than 200 land parcels we have identified. And we have told the private investors that land Delhi government will arrange, and the charging infrastructure you have to set up. And for that, as a landlord or landowner, we may get some royalty or a fee, you can say. So swapping would be entirely in the private domain. Charging infrastructure, charging stations, it will be a public and private partnership.
Before we conclude, I just want to understand what kind of fund have you allocated for the next 4 years? Because you are talking about 25% electrification of the fleet by 2024. So what kind of fund allocation you expect?
No, funds has never been a problem with the Delhi government, especially under the dynamic leadership of Honorable CM. I think he is very clear that things which have to be done in public interest, then funds will automatically follow. I'll give you a small example, whether it was giving free electricity, whether it is giving free water, whether free ridership to women, free medicines. So once Delhi government is committed, and we are, I think, very committed that the entire public transport should be converted into electric buses, and whatever funds needed will be provided by Delhi government. Whereas the subsidy part, we already have a corpus of 50 CR in the as the fund. So if need arises, then more funds will follow.
Thank you so much once again for joining us today. Certainly, Delhi looks to have a very strong plan towards green mobility. We'll see how the electricity crisis that sometimes crops in is dealt with. The minister has assured us that they are already talking to the DISCOM to resolve this issue. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining ETAuto EV Conclave. Thank you so much.